This is a brainstorming about the future approach to our mod, and again, talking about how we can find resources for our mod. Hello, everyone. This is Ali Reza. Welcome to the Mentor Code Lab. Today, we will talk more about how I want to approach the concepts in UIO and what is there to be used, and a very good reference to look up every now and then and learn from it, but with different approaches. First of all, we said that we want to have UIO somewhat close to EnderIO from Forge. However, EnderIO had done some things that I really don't want to follow, and that is a schema of a tech mod, you know. Yes, I want to have or duplication and even quadruplication, but I don't like the very intense industrial approach that almost mods out there are following. At the same time, I like some things from Tinker Constructs, and that was the concept of smelting things and then using cast. However, I didn't like the fact that I had to stay around the smeltery and, right click, right click, right click, or even sometimes doing things in automation the way people do it. What I do want to have is a very simple way of processing ore and at the same time using casts to make things work. I like the idea of changing vanilla recipes to nerf them, but not as heavily as GregTech had done it in history, or the way we will look at it today as modern industrialization is doing. I will call it MI from now on. So we have EnderIO, and now we have MI. Now, modern industrialization, as you see, adds tons of ingots and dust. And it has a query, it has a nuclear reactor, and it has cables and lots of machines that can be upgraded. Now, why did I put this one on the monitor? Because it's in Fabric and it's really updated. So it's a very good source to learn from it, because if you take a look, nuclear reactor is a multi-part structure. The query is a multi-part structure. We have cables and everything that we can learn from it. However, I don't like the approach, because just look at this one screenshot, you will understand how heavily industrialized look it has for the game. Now, I like to have tables to move fluids around, to move items around, energy around. All of that is good, and we will take a look at that later. However, few things that I noticed is that it is using its own energy system, and it is using steam early game stage, meaning that it is driving away from vanilla approach. Now, energy by itself is taking things, moving away from vanilla, but we can handle it in a different way. We can produce energy using lava, for example, and that would be it. So using lava and coal without any extra way of producing energy will be sufficient to stay as close to vanilla as possible. And by the way, we will not use energy in many places. However, we will have cables that are capable of transferring energy all around. Now, do I want these many ingots? No. These many dots? No. Hell no. I don't want to add all of these into the game, because to be honest, I had played Minecraft for a very long time on industrialized approach. I played Buildcraft, I played EnderIO, and now I played GregTech, and lots of these. And most of them add tons of ingots, but they are not using all of them. For example, EnderIO is a very interesting one. If you look at EnderIO, and let's say we want to look at the alloys, you will see that EnderIO adds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 alloys. And when you think about it, for example, Vibrant is being used for an upgraded version of cables. Redstone alloy is used for treating the redstone cables. Pulsating is again for upgrading. Energetic is for treating uh, cables, conducting, and copper. So 6 alloys right there. And take a look at the modern industry is industrialization. 9 multiplied by 3, 27, 28, 29, 30. 5 times bigger than EnderIO. However, if you think about it, when you have very few alloys or ingots or whatever, you can have variations of them in the shape of bars, gears, plates, and everything like that. And that is more than enough to handle the crafting. Now take a look at this example. It's an assembler that is using tons of different items. Why? I mean, if we want to have fun playing Minecraft, let's think about it. What was the main concept of the Minecraft itself when Mojang was developing it? It was to play a game like a logo on digital aspect. So it's more about being creative, buildings, and stuff like that. And if you play vanilla, you will see that people get crazily creative when it comes to different farms, different automations, and stuff like that again. So here's the question. If you want, for example, to make, I don't know, a dispenser, is it a very complex recipe? Not really. If you look at the Minecraft itself in vanilla, most of the recipes are not tenfolded complexity in creating one thing, then put it into crafting table for the second thing, put the result in the crafting table for the third thing. No. And I want to stick to that simplicity. So that's why I'm reinventing the wheel, modern industrialization. I will take the cables and some aspects of different things being done here. For example, I like the concept of having some dusts, okay? And for dusts, if you look, we don't have dust. What do we have? What did you call them? Clay, glowstone. Yeah, it can't change the names without the dust there. For example, ender crystal powder. Let's see how many powders we have. Powder. And as you see, we have tons of powders here, okay? So instead of dust, it used powdered, okay? And I think this is a good approach. We will have some dusts and then few ingots, few gems, and combine them to make different shapes and, for example, gears and, I don't know, bars, and use them into different recipes, and that's it, okay? However, as I said, when it comes to cables, I will let the cables handle as much as possible because you may want to use it on another mod that is producing much more energy. And again, I will try to add those terminals and things from Tom's simple storage because I want to handle my pipes and have the storage system as close to vanilla as possible. Again, I'm not going to have disks, central processing unit for disks, anything like refined storage or anything like that. No, I will use chests, okay? Barrels and chests. So again, as close to vanilla as possible. So from modern industrialization, I will not take anything from here other than the code examples to learn from, but it's a very great source to learn from. By the way, Technician is a very old mod developer, and I highly recommend if you see this guy as the member of a team developing a mod, pay attention to his job. He knows what he's doing. Okay, that's one. So I will use some textures from EnderIO. That's one source of your art design. However, the best thing to do is to not steal the texture from him and do exactly use that. Tweak it as much as possible, okay? Tweak them as much as possible and try to not just be a copycat. Now, here's a question for you. Many people say that, hey, we are not good as artists for designing pictures, for blocks, for items. What should we do? To be honest, pixel art is not easy. And I mean it. I did try myself and I failed miserably. Old days, I mean around 1.10, 1.12, and below that, 1.7 even, Forge developers like Lex and many other people would be very harsh when you would talk about texture sizes above 16 by 16. They would yell at you, no, 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 you should stick to 16 by 16. Honestly, that's meaningless because if you know about Unity 3D or any other game engine actually out there, you will know that these days, any texture for any modern game is about 1K by 1K, the minimum. So the minimum texture size is 1K. So 1024 by 1024 pixels. For example, a character in a game may use at least 10 of these textures, a single character. A building may use 2 or 3 of these textures. So a scene that you play your game on your PC right now, maybe, will have more than 20 to 40 textures above 1K. Okay. So sticking to 16 by 16 is meaningless these days. And you may argue that, hey, this is Java, this is OpenGL. Well, let's deal with it. Any game engine out there have to convert the graphical code back to the OpenGL one way or another. Okay. That's the back end programming for you. So if you can find a texture on 16 by 16, for example, and you can modify it and stay and stick to 16 by 16, all good and fun. Do it by all means. But even EnderIO, as you see, sometimes use bigger textures. For example, this is 32 by 32. But as you see, EnderIO didn't go above 32 by 32. So the gears are 16. This one is 32 by 32. Filters are 32 by 32, but most of them are 16. I would say that 32 by 32 should be sufficient for most of the textures you need for the extreme cases. Now, again, many people tell you to use GIMP or even worse, Paint.net. I prefer Photoshop. Yes, you have to pay for Photoshop, but the only alternative between these two, GIMP and Paint.net, that I accept is GIMP. You need to be able to work on layers and you need to be able to tweak each layer on color and filtering, and you will have to be able to merge these layers later down. Because if you want to be creative and you are not a pixel paint artist, you have to work with a pre-made art and tweak it. For example, I have to change the colors, or I want to add some, I don't know, graphical thing to this alloy and change the looks of it. This is my older mod. All that matters is already on mod range for 1.20.2. And if I go into assets, my own assets, textures, item, and I want to show you something. Here we go. Take a look at this ingot. Okay. As you see, it has some particles around it. So if I open it in photo and zoom in, you see these dots. It will help to make this alloy look like it has some particles around it. So if you want to, you can do exactly the same with any one of these alloys. For example, I don't know, that red alloy, whatever, or even the powders. So how can I make that if I'm not a pixel artist is by just taking this ingot, copy some parts like the particles, paste them here, and then change the color on that single layer to make it look close to the original, and that's it. So how can I do it with Paint.net? Forget it. GIMP, maybe, but my choice, because I had paid and I have it, is Photoshop. You can get some textures from some people and change them and make them unique and use them. But if you are hell-bent to be a copycat, you should make sure that you got permission. Most of the mods has some way of communicating with you. They may have GitHub issues that you can ask there. Most of them have Discord servers. You can go there and ask for permission. Hey, can I use these few textures from your mod for my own mod? For example, EnderIO would give you permission to do whatever you want in Fabric because they are not aiming to port their mod into Fabric. So if you want to use their textures, that's it. Tech Reborn, I think, has a MIT license and has whatever you want to do with my textures. But at the same time, they say that, hey, don't be a bad guy and copy everything. Just be nice and ask for permission. And if you want to, you have permission to use one or two textures here and there. But pay attention, you have to contact mod developers if you want to be a decent developer yourself. That's one source of textures for you. For example, if you want to go into blocks in EnderIO and you see that it doesn't have machines here. Now, EnderIO is a little bit complex because you see that under source, it has different sub sections, and each one of them is actually its own mod. So for example, your machines is under machine subfolder. So yes, you can open this guy in Photoshop. And again, I would change the colors and make them more vanilla-like to sit nice in the environment in the game. And again, I want to change them so that it will be unique to my mod. So if for whatever reason, later down the road, EnderIO decided that, hey, we want to port to Fabric, and someone is playing my mod side by side with EnderIO, suddenly we wouldn't have two different machines look exactly like each other side by side. I want to have my mod using something special for itself that is dedicated for my mod. Yes, I can use some of these. And again, you see that sometimes he's using 32 by 32. That's okay. So I want to use some of these, but I will change them. So for example, if it says Soul Engine or Sterling Generator, and by the way, they look exactly like each other, I will change them. I will change the look. I will change the colors. And who knows, I may call this my own generator or even a furnace. I don't know. But again, I will make sure that the looks are different. So I will, for example, open this inside Photoshop and I will change the colors. And even I may add some patterns on top of it with some changes. And Photoshop is a very nice one to do this because you can change the overlay type and it is very helpful. The last thing is the last source of art that you can use, and that's Minecraft itself. However, if you have the Minecraft game, you can open the jar file with the zip extraction application like WinRAR, and then you can extract the resources folder there. If you want to, you can move down and find the Minecraft version somewhere here, as you see. So, for example, every item in Minecraft is here, okay? Either you just copy a single texture. For example, if you want the bell, you just copy this texture, paste it outside. Or what I do most of the time, because if you look, you have block states here, you have some models here that you can use, some things. I will copy the whole Minecraft and I come to my temp mod and I will paste it somewhere, okay? Most of the time, I go outside of the source. I will paste it there. And it will take a long time because now it has to extract everything from there, okay? Or actually in the source. It should be pastable into the source, yes. Now it says Minecraft, and I will call it art or assets source, okay? I will let it run because it will take a long time. It will decompile and de-extract everything and extract everything from the source into the folder. When it's finished, I will come back and remove the atlases, font, language, shaders, text, and these two JSON files, and this root. So I will just keep the block state, the model, particle, and texture. And that's exactly a good resource for anything you want to do that is close to vanilla. If you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on that bell so that when I publish a new video, you will get informed. Have fun, everyone. Bye.